The Indian-South African heritage is a rich, intricate and multi-layered one. The shapes, colours, characters that keep it the living, breathing entity it is are unmistakable. And Saffron TV, South Africa's first local Indian channel, offers just the right platform to celebrate 150 years of its glorious history. Commemorating this year, 2010, the 150th anniversary since indentured labourers from the Indian subcontinent arrived in South Africa, is one of our most ambitious projects to date. And as a broadcaster, we're providing a multimedia platform that enables the telling of the stories of the men and women who braved the long and arduous journey to South Africa in search of better lives. And beyond this, creating a digital archive of those moments throughout South African history, upon which the generations that followed these pioneers have themselves left an indelible mark. In lieu of this, Saffron TV has committed to covering community activities and events around the country that mirror and speak to the commemoration of this auspicious moment in history. One such event was the much-anticipated launch of the book by acclaimed authors Ashwin Desai and Ghulam Vahed about the legendary Dr. Monty Naicker. The celebratory air of the event was evident from the moment we stepped through the doors, with guests being treated to a moving gallery of photographs giving us some glimpse of Dr. Naicker and the extraordinary life he'd lived. The book recounts the pioneering efforts of Dr. Naicker as he cleared a path towards non-racialism from the mid-1900s right up until his death in 1978. It stands as a thorough account of the struggles and victories, both personal and political, experienced by Dr. Naicker as he journeyed towards the dream of a liberated South Africa, and leaves readers with a keener sense of this great man and the enduring mark left by him on South African history. Charismatic Ashwin Desai, one half of this dynamic duo bringing this important story to the world, took some time with us to tell us about the book, its origins and purpose.
Well, I think it's a very important story because it shows how the Indian community struggled from indenture to build what is an epic story on the African continent. No Indian community has built Indo-African relations like we did in South Africa. And Monty Naicker becomes part of this big story because he comes after indenture, is able to break out of ethnic politics and of the Gandhi period and the indenture period, build this Indo-African relations. So we must not only get caught in telling the story of indenture, but to tell the broad canvas. And Monty covers that very important period in the 40s, 50s, which were seminal to the building of what we see today in South Africa. Well, I hope it does two things. It makes all of us very humble. A man of great integrity, medical doctor, gave up his medical practice, had great courage, went to prison, was banned, but never gave up. But it'll also make us angry, because he's a simple man who did simple things, was as one with his community. And today's politicians can learn from Monty Naicker and make us angry that we had people like Monty Naicker who weren't an exception at that period. And today we've inherited a whole coterie of politicians who look after themselves rather than thinking about the country.
Ghulam Vahed's passion for this work was in equal evidence as he took the stage with a moving talk about all the role players responsible for bringing this work to completion.
There are so many women that were pivotal to the struggle. I mean, Mari Naicker, Elsie Nair, Choti Motala, again, somebody that didn't have to take this project on as her own, but she would call me from Pietermaritzburg. Ghulam, I now found another photo. Ghulam, I now found the diary. So somehow there's this hunger to get things recorded, and people took on this project on their own. So all of these women whose stories have never really been told fully, and we have not done so, but we have attempted to do so, and so some of them are alluded to.
Apart from being a sharp and incisive account about one man's life, this book is also a timeless entry into our cultural landscape, since this is, after all, the year we commemorate the arrival of indentured labour in South Africa in 1860, and Desai was quick to point this out.
It's a time in which we can really think about how we built something incredible in South Africa that confronted what was going on in India. So in this country, we cut across religion. People, Hindus married Muslims, Muslims married Christians, North and South Indians got on, joint committees were built around these things. People negated and confronted the caste system and petty chauvinisms. They got rid of the color coding and so on. And so I think it's a time in which we can reflect about how far we've come, but how far we still need to go, because what is happening to our society, some of us are going backwards. You know, people are starting to think about the caste system of things. People are thinking about religious differences. People are thinking in very ethnic, chauvinistic terms as Indians. So I think if we really take the story of indenture seriously in this year, 2010, then it will commit us to what they were dreaming of building, a life, a beautiful life, a race-free life, a caste-free life in Africa.
Echoing and elaborating on Desai's sentiments was one of the launch's most esteemed guests and chairman of the 1860 Legacy Foundation, Ashwin Chickamjee.
Whilst we celebrate the arrival of the first indentured labourers from India, we are celebrating as South Africans and Indians afterwards. The Legacy Foundation, of course, has the challenge of coordinating all these events to ensure that at the end of the day there's a unified celebration, there's a celebration that is not duplicated in different areas, and of course more importantly there's recognition of the real issue. Not just a couple of hours of entertainment and cultural items, but something that will leave behind for the next 50 and 100 years a kind of legacy which people will remember and recall that was the 150-year celebration.
With inspiring words from some of the book's contributors to fantastic contemporary expressions of Indian South African culture, the event was a resounding triumph. Success, we hope, will only continue to follow the authors who brought this important story to life. Another recent event that caught our attention was the launch of the Christian Indian Network International, an initiative that offers Christian churches and leaders to come together to celebrate and commemorate the 150th anniversary of Indians in South Africa. Prominent community leaders from across all faiths gathered in support of the initiative. None, however, were as vociferous in stating its objectives than the day's program director, Pastor Eugene Perumal.
This launch about our Christian Indian Network International is not about Christianity, it is not about Hinduism, it is not about Buddhism, it is not about Islam, it is not about any religion, it's about our Indian coming down here to South Africa, and we are celebrating our survival. Through all the adversities we've had, we have survived. Give the Lord God Almighty hands of praise.
And many of the attendees echoed in unison.
People who came as indentured laborers lived under conditions akin to slavery, but through processes of self-help, through building schools, through building temples, through perpetuating culture and values through these institutions, we were able to turn that adversity into the advantageous position that Indian South Africans are in today.
Saffron TV would like to ask you, our viewers, to join us in telling the story of the Indian community in South Africa. We want to hear your stories. What are the memories that shaped your sense of South African Indian identity? Now come and share it with us. In everybody's family, there are stories that stand as loving memories that make being a South African Indian a unique experience to you. We offer you a variety of ways to contact us and tell us your story. We will hold community events across the country to record your contribution. But you can also send us pictures, stories and ideas through letters, by fax or by email that would help us make this a people's collection of the 150 years of our odyssey in South Africa. We will use this content to tell the story of our community on Saffron TV, but we need you to get involved and become a part of the story. You can reach us in a variety of ways. You need only send us a brief synopsis of your story idea and tell us why it is special to you. Join us on the African Indian Odyssey. It's not complicated. You can email us on info@saffrontv.co.za or write to us at PO Box 0847, Saxonwold 2132, or fax us on 086 567 0658. We want to hear from you. Together, we will bring the South African Indian story to life.